Welcome to the weekend. This is Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skabelski of RE/MAX Lakes. Welcome to the weekend.
Here we are. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. And as we talked about, we've been talking about here in recent weeks, it's getting warmer. And with the warm temperatures, that means the market tends to heat up. And once again, it is heating up just like it did last year.
Just like last year. It's crazy again, which, everybody says, oh, agents, you want it to be crazy. You want it to be crazy. Yeah, we do. I mean, we want to be busy. We want to make sure homes are selling. But the bad thing is today as a buyer, it's tough. It is competitive. So what I want to talk about today is buying in that competitive marketplace.
Okay.
Again, as I've mentioned, I've joked around about, it's not grandma and grandpa's market anymore. It's not mom and dad's market anymore.
Right.
It's a little different. So, and if your objective is you found a house you want to buy, there's definitely some strategies to win, which a win in our book is to get the offer accepted.
True.
One of the first things that I would recommend is work with a broker. That sounds self-serving, and it probably is in some respects. But the fact is, you've got to know that the house has hit the market. As we were talking about just a little bit before we came on the air, I got hit with a new listing that came on last night, and I've been getting messages already from folks that I have set up for searches. They've received that search. They got up this morning, and in their email is, hey, this listing, can we go see it today? So, working with a broker, you will get the most up-to-date, current, and accurate information. Talk to a broker, have them set you up for a search for any active listings that come on in the market that are in your price range. And you'll get that via email.
Sure.
So, and as we've talked about in the past, when we input a listing into the MLS, so when a real estate broker takes a listing, put it into the MLS, the multiple listing service, it feeds Zillow, Trulia, all of those. It feeds all of those real estate websites.
Okay.
So by working with a broker, you get firsthand information. It's the most accurate and the most timely. Zillow doesn't necessarily update immediately. Realtor.com updates every 15 minutes. So if you say, hey, I don't want to talk to a broker yet, which I wouldn't recommend in today's market. You want to have a relationship with somebody, so you've got somebody working with you. But if you want to search on your own, use Realtor.com versus the Zillows and the Trulias of the world. Not that Zillow doesn't, have the information available, but they've also got a lot of items. They've got pre-foreclosures, and if I get one call a week, I get 100 calls a week on pre-foreclosure listings. Those listings are not available. You won't see them come on the market for a year. Oh. They have to go through the foreclosure process. Now, maybe it'll only be 6 months, but they're not available today. So they'll upset, you'll think, hey, I've got a great deal. Wrong. It's pre-foreclosure. If you see pre-foreclosure, it is not available for sale today.
Okay.
Trulia doesn't update very frequently. The listings that are on there, some of them have already closed, they're already sold, and they're still out on Trulia. So a broker or Realtor.com would be my advice on places to search. So that's hint number one about buying in a competitive market.
Yeah, right. Well, but also the realtor is doing this 40 plus hours a week.
Right.
And the rest of us were not. So the realtor knows what's going on in the marketplace, and you describe to your agent what you're looking for, and they probably know of a half a dozen homes that are out there.
They may know of half a dozen. They're moving so quick.
Right.
You never know.
And this, lack of inventory right now, but in normal market conditions.
Normal market, absolutely. But I guess the other thing is develop that relationship with the broker beforehand.
Yeah.
So they know what you're looking for. I'm showing some people today we've been working with for about a year. I mean, they've got very specific requirements. The house they're looking for came on the market. We're going out to take a look at it today.
Okay.
Now, it may or may not be the one. Who knows? But we know what they're looking for. As soon as that hit the market, we sent them the email. They called, hey, we're set. We're going to see it. So the other thing, as far as so develop a relationship with a broker in advance. Beyond that, have a local lender that you're working with. When you submit that offer in a competitive situation, it's nice that the seller at least recognize who the lender is. It's not, Tom, Dick, and Harry, lender from, somewhere in Florida.
Right.
That, they don't know anything about them. Now, there are big lenders, Quicken Loans, Chase, Wells Fargo, those bigger banks. People know them, and there's nothing wrong with the savings and loan. There's not. There's nothing wrong with some of these smaller banks. But if they're in Florida and you have never dealt with them before, as a listing agent, when I get that offer that has that, we take pause to that. I don't know anything about this, this lender. What's their time frames look like? Are they reliable? Are they dependable? Will they get it done? So a local lender is probably a good choice. They can also, if you're not ready to buy, they can guide you through the steps to get ready to buy. I mean, that's an important piece. So you're not just, on lendingtree.com where you get 7 offers in 5 minutes.
Right.
You've got a relationship with a local lender that they can help you get ready if you're not ready.
And it's also nice to be face to face with that lender instead of every time you call one of these places you're talking to somebody else.
Right. You're just a number and you're calling into a call center and you're getting the agent that happens to be on duty at that particular point in time.
Okay.
So notice we've talked about relationship. Right. It's standard business stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Develop relationships up front so that you can be successful when it comes time.
All right, so those are the 2 big keys for that's the base right there. We're going to talk about buying in a competitive market. It's coming up here next. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. Okay. You're listening to Real Estate in Real Time. I'm your host, Woody Zimmerman, here with Mark Skowalski of RE/MAX Lakes, and we're talking about buying in a competitive market. And we talked about the 2 basics. Number 1, you want to get pre-approved, okay? With a local lender. And number 2, you want to have an agent because an agent is working the market day in and day out. So those are the 2 givens there.
2 gimmies, exactly.
Yes, but now we're talking about buying in a competitive market. And once again, this year, it's the market is competitive just like it was last year. And we weren't sure if last year, if what we experienced last year was going to continue into 19, but so far it has.
So far it has. We started slow. I mean, as we talked about, January, February were pretty slow, but it has definitely picked up. It's sort of like at the end of last year in October, somebody turned the faucet off. Well, about March 1st, somebody opened that spigot back up, and it's just busy as all get out again. Part of that is due to the fact that interest rates are still low, and the Fed has said they don't plan to adjust. The economy is still rolling along.
Right.
So, the market is still really good. So
a hot market, that is good for the economy.
Yeah.
That's good for a lot of things. But what we talked about a little bit before the break is that it's not necessarily the best for buyers because lack of inventory.
Correct. There's not much inventory out there. So when something comes out, I mean, we did a show sometime last year to where, my biggest point was just be decisive.
Yeah.
You need to be decisive. If you're looking for something in 6 months, there's no sense looking at the houses today.
Right.
They are not going to be available in 6 months. And if they are, there's probably something wrong with them or they're overpriced and you wouldn't want it anyway.
Sure.
But as it is right now, to win, and again, talking about winning, you need to be prepared. And that's that, have your pre-approval. Being decisive is part of that winning. Be available. If your agent says, hey, this is something we probably ought to go after, it fits all, it checks the blocks for you and we need to get going, be available. With electronic signatures, we can sign contracts electronically nowadays. We can fax, email, scan, email back, take pictures. I mean, we do all different formats with these contracts.
Sure.
Be available. Don't, hey, I'm looking this week, or let's go look next week at that house that just hit the market today. It in all likelihood won't be there next week.
Right.
And if it is, it doesn't mean it's bad 1 week, right? We're talking about 1 week on the market. But the fact is, there's a lot of activity. It's almost like a showing carousel. It's funny amongst agents, when something comes on the market that we know is a really hot property, there'll be 8-9 showings all taking place at the same time. It's almost like an open house.
Yeah.
It's feast or famine. Whoever gets in there first, whoever gets the offer written first.
True.
Well, so that brings us to multiple offers. We're seeing multiple offers in specific price ranges. So how do you win those multiple offer situations? A lot of people would say, hey, I'm cash. I should automatically win. They should want me versus somebody who's financing with a mortgage. That isn't really the case. The seller is getting cash at closing. Now, I'm not saying buying with cash isn't a bad thing. That's a very good thing.
Sure.
But there were people scamming the system when it came to multiple offer situations. They would say they were writing cash. The seller would accept it, so all the other offers go away. They get the offer accepted, then they would do an amendment and switch to financing. people were playing the game. You know, like with anything, people learn the rules of the game,
Yeah.
and then they modify the rules. Well, ultimately, the regs came in,
Yeah.
and they modified our state contracts this year that says even if you're putting that you were or you're buying cash,
Yeah.
you need to let the seller know if you plan to have an appraisal or not. So, and that's a good thing. I mean, that's a benefit to the seller. It's a benefit to the other buyers that are out there.
Okay.
So people, in my opinion, unethical,
Yeah.
playing that game, saying, yep, we're going cash,
Mhm.
and then, oh, by the way, we're going to finance.
Yeah.
Seller may have made a completely different decision if they had all the cards on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good thing that being a member of, working with a broker, a member of the board of realtors, member of the state Indiana Association of Realtors, they provide us the forms and they update them to adapt to market conditions. So the other thing in a multiple offer situation is you can use what's called an escalation clause
Okay.
to where you create a cap. So you're basically telling the seller up front, hey, here's my offer. Let's say it's $150,000, but I'm willing to go to $160,000, and I will outbid anybody else between $150,000 and $160,000 by $100. That's an escalation clause. So if you've got two offers, they're competing, and we're not sending offers and counter offers back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You've already told the seller you're willing to go to $160,000, but they have to prove to you that they had another offer that drove the price up as well.
Okay.
So it isn't like you can just.
I was wondering because
Yeah.
it seems like they would just say, okay, well, we'll just take 160 then.
That's right. So that's one strategy is to use the escalation clause. The bad thing with that is that you as a buyer or as a seller, you've got to wait for the buyer to accept a counteroffer. So the escalation happens, the seller has to counteroffer the buyer. What if the buyer's changed their mind? So from a seller's perspective, not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Because they've told all the other offers they're accepting another one, and now they're countering this one. So escalation clause is one way to win. My best advice to buying in a competitive marketplace, besides the pre-approval, having a relationship, all of those things, be decisive. When you see something you want, write that offer and write it to the point to where I'm not going to be disappointed if I don't get it. Don't expect to receive a counteroffer coming back. Don't expect that the seller is going to counter you. So what am I saying? Go out with your best foot forward. You're not going to get a deal in a competitive marketplace. You can't get the lowest price and win all the battles. It's not going to happen in competitive. You know, again, that's where talking to the broker who's doing this all the time can address those points with you. They can tell you, hey, this is a good price. No, it's not a good price. You know, hey, it seems overpriced, but if you really want it, that's what you need to do. With the understanding that if you're financing, your appraisal is going to be your safety net. The appraiser has got to appraise the property for the value.
Right.
So again, if you're a buyer in this competitive marketplace, the best advice out there, write your best offer first. Don't expect to get a counter offer back. Write what you want, go in guns a-blazing, and hopefully you win the war. That's the way to do it.
Okay, yeah, it's just been an amazing market here.
Yeah.
For the past couple of years, and here we go again.
Here we go again.
Yeah, great for buyers, but you know, I mean,
Great for sellers.
Great for sellers. Great for sellers. Not the best for buyers
Right.
in this market, but with those tips, so you can get.
You can win.
You can win. You can get that accomplished. So, all right. Well, thank you for another great show. You've been listening to Real Estate in Real Time.